Garth von Spriggan. It's a bloody pleasure and honour to be chatting with you tonight on the AndoVocals podcast. Thank you so much for your time, man.
No worries. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's good to be
Legend.
here.
So before we get stuck into the heavy questions, which Warhammer faction would mosh hardest to your music? And alternatively, which one would cry?
Which one would cry? I reckon the Elder would cry because they're little bitches, or the Tor, they'd cry. They're little bitches. But I think the ones that would mosh hardest would have to be the Orcs, surely. Like, imagine an Orc mosh pit. Like, that would just go off. I love the Space Marines, but I think they might be a little bit, like, too stoic and a bit too, like, to, like, let go, but the Orcs would just go ballistic. So that would be cool. Yeah.
Mental. Yeah. So, just want to talk about your unique cycle of albums that you release. So, you sort of go with like some sci-fi instrumentals, then the same again, but an album that includes your personal vocal works. What drives that rhythm?
So it's like actually an injury. So I, what was it, last year, at the start of last year, I started getting some, I got some live shows and I was like, oh, awesome, got these live shows. And then I started getting this, like, I was doing vocals one day and I got this really like crazy pain, like down in my kind of like gut area. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And like, it stuck around for a long time. Ended up going and getting ultrasounds and stuff. And they're like, you've got hernias, so you've got to have surgery and stuff. And I'm like, well, I got a gig in like a month. Do you think I can sing? Like, do you think that'll be okay to sing? And they're like, look, you could, but you might pop something, you might do more damage. And so I was like, well, I guess I'll just do an instrumental. And then when it started, it was like, fuck, I'm not missing out on the gig. I quickly, emailed the promoter and was like, this is what's happened. Like, I'm still good to go, but it's not going to be vocals now. And he's like, yeah, man, no worries. And it ended up kind of blowing up, like, more than some of my other stuff. So, sorry, the dog was just walking in and out and just closing the door. But yeah, it ended up blowing up, like, and it was so fun as well. Like, it was so, like, I love doing the stuff with vocals and things, but it was so freeing just to be able to, like, really focus on the music. And it was kind of a different feeling too, like, when I'm making that music, like, I love my sci-fi stuff, and it's a thing I've loved since I was a kid. And you get this certain feeling, I can't put it into words, but it's just like, I just feel nice. It's just nice to be around. And like, I don't know, and that sort of feeling was coming through the music, I felt. So it kind of took me back to when I was a little teenager kid watching crazy sci-fi movies late at night and, getting into Warhammer and stuff for the first time and gaming and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. It was just basically born out of an injury. With that hernia thing, actually, I ended up going to a specialist and stuff, and I didn't actually have a hernia. I had, like, he's like, what you've done is like an AFL injury, actually. And he's like, he was a really good specialist. He watched all these like clips of me, like, and what I do. And he's like, okay, like, you're doing this and you've strained all of these muscles. And it's like, we normally see this in AFL guys, so maybe just chill for a little bit. And, that's what I did. And yeah, so all good now.
So no surgery was required?
No, nothing was required. Yeah.
Awesome. Good news.
Yeah.
So how does your music tell your personal story?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. So everything kind of starts just from like a rhythm, I guess. And like, when I started making music, I didn't really set out to make like sci-fi music or music for Warhammer. That was a side thing, like literally years later, that was like, this seems to really fit. Like, for me, it was that kind of happy accident. So I guess, like, all of it is like, I like my sci-fi stuff, obviously, and I like bands like Tool. I like bands like Massive Attack. I like lots of metal, obviously. So all of, like, if you listen to my songs, they're most of the time really heavy and stuff, but behind that is an element of like the Massive Attack kind of vibe I try and get in, where it's a little bit like trip hoppy, I guess, or sometimes I like to try and get that sort of Tool vibe in there, where it's like maybe a little bit sort of spacey and trippy and a bit more prog, but still, like, I remember when I started, I was like, you know what, it would be cool to make like Tool songs but with like Soulfly riffs. And with like White Zombie kind of sound. I used to listen to Astro Creep 2000 like heaps, and I loved all those like sound effects. Yeah, like all those sound effects and stuff. And I was like, I want to create this world in my head that I kind of see this kind of sci-fi imagery and stuff like that. And just, yeah, so I guess it tells my personal story. It's like sort of comes from all the bands that I loved, growing up, like Slipknot and White Zombie, and then bands I found when I was older, like Massive Attack and like Hans Zimmer stuff and Radiohead and those kind of things, like Mars Volta, and I try and unsuccessfully combine, like, I want like my songs to be everything all at once sometimes, and I think I fail, like, but I want it to be like a Hans Zimmer soundtrack, but also the most brutal, heavy thing that you've all ever heard, but also like beautiful, like Massive Attack. And I kind of want it to everything at once. And yeah, I definitely haven't accomplished that yet, and that's I guess why I keep going. But yeah, so that's where it sort of comes from. And then like, obviously with the lyrics and stuff, they are all very personal, like a lot of stuff from my childhood and my politics and my social kind of, I guess, my social commentary, and also kind of affirmations to my own like mental health and stuff, where with like the medical stuff, like I got a bit of like anxiety through it, and like the music will help me kind of like work through that sort of stuff and kind of remind me to kick its ass and not be a victim to it. So yeah, so I think that's, I hope it's infused, like, and it's with the songs I do try and be truthful to myself. That sounds so cheesy. I hate, like, I'm trying to be an accurate representation of myself, but I'm never really thinking about like, oh, this would, this sort of person would like this, or this part would go viral, or anything like that. I really do try and get back to that old school, just feeling it and going with the flow. And like, I learned to play guitar, jamming with two mates, where it was just completely improvised the entire time. And the feeling that you get when that happens and the kind of flow state happens is what I'm chasing and trying to get into my music, rather than be like, we need a chorus here, we need a hook, we need a this. Like, that's not even on the mind. It's just like, this is what happens and this is the flow of the song. And because of that as well, a lot of the stuff I write isn't even appropriate for Von Spriggan. I'll like write something that's kind of like a Radiohead song or something. I'm like, well, that was fun. Like, and just put it in the shelf, and like, it's just for the fun of it, like, so yeah.
Yeah, nice one. So tell us what your most prolific sci-fi and gaming influences are, and how these shape your soundscapes.
Yeah, cool. I'd say the most prolific ones are probably from when I was a kid, like Warhammer. I've always been a Warhammer fan, but I've never been like hugely in it, because I just wasn't like, I could never get the figures and stuff. Even now they're pretty expensively, like, it takes but I found the White Dwarf magazines and just kind of fell in love with the art style and stuff like that. So that's been a constant throughout my entire life. And it wasn't until probably about 5 years ago when my wife bought me like some Warhammer stuff for Christmas that I was like, kind of started getting hooked on the painting and making all the dioramas and stuff. So that's definitely been a part of it. But like, a lot of the early sort of sci-fi stuff, you can see the Terminator in your background. Like Terminator, James Cameron would be a big part of that. Like Aliens, the second Alien movie, loved it. Like, and that aesthetic I love so much. Akira, that old anime, 90s. Spriggan, which is an old anime. So that kind of cyberpunk, early 90s, like hand-drawn anime, which is hugely influenced. And yeah, that sort of like Predator, Alien, Terminator, those big sci-fi things from the 90s. Like I don't know how many times I've watched those movies. Like, they're all to the point where it's like, I could probably quote them back. And same with Star Wars, like Star Wars was a huge part. And it kind of sucks. Like, it's been tainted a little bit now because of, I didn't really like the direction Disney went. I used to read all the books and stuff too. So, yeah, if I had to say, I'd say James Cameron with Terminator 2 and Aliens 2, Warhammer, and then yeah, that's pretty, yeah, just that kind of stuff, like this 90s anime, like kind of, yeah.
Love it, man. You really hear that resonate in the actual soundscapes. I love it so much, man, what you're putting together.
Thank you.
So fucking killer.
Cheers.
So does working solo give you freedom, or does it challenge you in unexpected ways?
Both. So yeah, it's a lot of work, and it can be like, I don't sort of stop. I love it though. The benefits of working solo is I just can keep going. And when I have been in bands before, I really struggled with people's work ethic and stuff like that. I'd love hanging out with people, but there's like the professional side of it and the friend side of it, and that professional side of it was never there. So I'd get so frustrated with, it's like, we can't just get stoned and do nothing and like, you know, fuck about, this isn't going to work. Like we can do that sometimes, like that's really fun, but we need to work our ass off too, so we can do that, you know. So being solo, I can just work and keep going, and so, and the freedom that gives me as well is I can just get the song how I want. Like it can be frustrating when you write a song and then it has to be filtered through other people. And I've been in situations before where I can tell that the decision making isn't coming from a artistic place, it's coming from an egotistical place. So instead of someone going, this guitar part is sick because it sounds really cool, it's like, this guitar part I want in because it'll show everyone how good I am at guitar. And that sort of stuff gets pretty frustrating, and you're like, okay, like, yeah, it's appeasing the ego. But on the other side of that, I do really, like, I learned to play music by playing with two of my best mates, Sam and Brent. Shout out to those guys, bass player and drummer. They're still the best guys I've ever played with to this day. They always laugh when I say this, but I'd put them up against any bass player and any drummer, and I reckon they'd be able to hold their own. Like, they'll send me clips sometimes like, dude, you could do that. And they're like, they know I could. And I'm like, I've seen you. I know how good you guys are. I was just trying to keep up, like, honestly, and that was the truth. Like, so, yeah, all that improvisational stuff, and yeah, it has to like kind of be in there as well. And like, I miss that part of the band. I miss that part of like, we would play for hours and hours, like, and create songs on the spot and then just lock in, you know, and there's something kind of magical that happens when you can lock in with someone like that and improvise. And I do miss that sometimes. But yeah, as far as like getting a band and stuff, I have thought about it lots, but I am kind of scared. There's another part of it too, which probably comes down to like trust issues. If I'm completely honest, if you want to get psychological about it, you know, music is a huge important part of my life, and to give someone else any kind of power over that is really scary. Like, I've done that in the past and it's kind of bit me on the butt, and then you have this beautiful thing and that's kind of taken away from you. In a way, like, say if you're with a band with band members, and then like, oh, you know, I can't tour, or I don't want to be in the band anymore, and that's fine, you know, life happens, and you know, you can't get angry about it, but it makes you sad because you're like, damn, like that feeling I get from when we play together now is gone and been taken. And I think after having that happen for so long, I'm like, you know what, music is kind of too important to let anyone else have any kind of control, so I'm gonna do it. And if people want to come on board with me and help, that's awesome. But like, as far as like Von Spriggan is concerned, it's like, that's protected. You know, I'd like, even if no one ever listens to it, you know, it's still, that's my little refuge, and I can go into that. And like, you know, I still like doing collabs and stuff like that, but yeah, there's a part of it that can't be touched by anyone, you know, and it's just, yeah, to keep it for myself, and so no one can take it away, I guess. So which yeah, it kind of sounds, oh, sorry, you go.
Yeah, you collabed with Alosa?
Yeah. So yeah, I love doing like collabs actually. So I've collabed with Alosa recently on this song called Purge. Man, Joel, he's just a beast. Like, hearing his vocals like raw is just like, I remember getting my wife and I was like, listen to this. It's just like, it's like, is that even human? It's like, is that him? I was like, yeah, that's like this guy. He's the best. Like, and he does that live too. So yeah, shout out to Alosa, because those guys are cool as fuck. And I got to play a couple shows with those guys too. That's where I met them. They were cool dudes. And I've done one with a female vocalist called Marie Hopkinson. And she was really cool. Like, she normally makes kind of, I guess, pop stuff, but and I still have this kind of vision in my head of basically, like, I guess it'd be a band like Bad Omens now, but with a female vocalist, like a mix of Massive Attack and metal. Like, I've always wanted to do that, and that was kind of a little delve into what that might sound like, and she was really cool and came along and did that. And she was a bit unsure, like, at first. I even had to write like a soft version of the song. She's like, I can't, like, I don't like, how do I sing over this? And I was like, okay, like, I get it, because you're not a murder person. Wrote a soft version so she could sing over it, and then made it metal. And she was, oh, I get it. And then another one with a band called Ill Vision, which is old mates of mine that go back. I used to do sound engineering, and I used to do sound for this band, and like look up to them. The Joe Petritri. I always fucking fuck up his name, but Joe and Pia, brother and sister duo. Pia could shred on the guitar like she was a big Dimebag Darrell fan, and she was awesome. And Joe, he's just a riff monster and great vocals. So, and I'm still friends with those guys. Like, I think probably going on like close to 15 years now or something like that. So, when the Von Spriggan stuff was starting to take off, I had a song that was like, oh, I think Ill Vision would suit for this. And like they were just starting to write again, and they had a little bit of a hiatus. So they like jumped on, and like Joe within a day had just pumped out like all these vocals and came up with like a cool concept for the song. And I was like, oh, I didn't actually expect you to write all the lyrics and everything, man. It was just like, fuck, this is sick, dude. Like just done, like, you know, so yeah. Shout out to Ill Vision, actually. And he has another band coming out soon called Instruments of Industry, and it's going to be all instrumental stuff. So I'm looking forward to that because, yeah, Joe is a riff monster. He's also a really good comedian too. He does stand up. So yeah.
Oh,
yeah. And,
him and Alexander from Breed could get together then.
Yeah. Could work. Yeah, I think he's out doing some stand up tonight. I saw him today actually. So yeah, he's getting back out there.
Killer. So You just mentioned instrumentals. Speaking of your instrumentals, the records feel very cinematic. Have you ever considered scoring a game or a film?
Oh yeah, definitely. It is a bit of a dream of mine, to be honest. I still want to be able to write music, but to be like a personal hero, Trent Reznor, you know, like to be able to follow his kind of, you know, from 9 Inch Nails, his career trajectory of like the band, and then like cool directors like, hey, do you want to like make a film? Like I would love that. Like I've had a few game people reach out to me and stuff, and then they just ghosted me. I'm not sure if I was like too full on or not. Like, and I had one guy and he's like, oh, you know, this is what it is. And I was like, oh, awesome, man. Like, okay, if you just send me like a character list and stuff like that, I'll start creating like motives for each character and themes that can like weave throughout and all this sort of stuff. And because I really like to try and like create music around a character if I'm doing that kind of thing. And I've done it sort of just by myself, just for fun, you know. And then the guy just kind of ghosted me. I was like, did I come on too strong? Like, but as well, like, you know, doing it with independent game developers, you know, as it is, like with us, life happens, you know, so who knows what happened in that guy's life that might have stopped him from doing it. But yeah, I really hope one day to be able to do that. Yeah, it's a bit of a dream of mine to be able to have the freedom to work on something like that and just to be able to make that my sole focus for months and months. And I really, really love film, and like I grew up in a video shop. You know, my earliest memories of living in the back of a video shop. Well, not living there, but you know, I'd hang out there with mum while she's running it. And so being able to like really like nerd out on film and like the intricacies of characterization and cinematography and stuff like that, and how like it can weave with the sound, it'll be so fun. I'd love to do that. So yeah, hopefully one day. And I kind of feel like I'm hoping that what I do now is a little bit of an advertisement for that. And it's something I want to start doing a bit more of in the future, is releasing like my own soundtracks, because I can, like, people listen to the metal and probably assume like, oh, it's just going to be heavy stuff. And it's like, I do actually do lots of sort of chill things and lots of piano and lots of other kind of more cinematic stuff. So yeah, I do want to sort of start doing that on YouTube a little bit more. Not releasing them as songs on Spotify, but just like, hey, here's, you know, what I can do. So fingers crossed one day, like I get a knock on the door from Hans Zimmer or something like that. And it's like, hey, do you want to? It's like, oh my God.
Cool fanboy.
Like, oh God, I would. Yeah, I'd just be like, play it cool, man, play it cool. Like, yeah, I guess we could do that. Like, it's like, do you ever hear this distant scream of joy? Like, you know, it's me. Like,
I just had a thought. A guy I work with, he runs Pixel Expo. Are you familiar with Pixel Expo at all?
No.
Heaps of independent game developers set up exhibitions there, so that might be something worth looking at. Maybe shaking some hands when Pixel Expo happens next. That's a killer.
Yeah, cool.
Event.
Yeah, just write that down. Yeah, cheers. Yeah, that could work.
Sick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, what's the emotional core of your vocal albums, and how raw do you let yourself get, mate?
Yeah, so I record it all by myself. So I do try and, I'm a big fan of like Rick Robinson and stuff like that. So Rick, fuck, Ross Robinson.
Ross Robinson, yeah.
I got Rick Rubin mixed up with that, yeah. Ross Robinson from and Slipknot, where, you'd see the footage of Jonathan Davis, like, crying and stuff like that, and doing that kind of, like, taking yourself to that kind of emotional state. And so a lot of the lyrics are, like, social commentaries and stuff like that, or just sort of personal things about trying to become the best version of myself and not let the hate of this world destroy that and get caught up in it. And so it's kind of like, it's okay, keep going. Like, normally I try to present like a problem, but then I present a solution by the end of it. So just to myself, a lot of the lyrics are written quite fast in a kind of like, I do the, what do you call it? Like train of thought, where I just write it all down quickly and then kind of edit it from that. So it depends what sort of comes out. But when I'm recording, I do try and it's a weird thing because you with screaming, you do actually have to get quite technical. Otherwise, you can just really ruin your voice. So finding that balance, and that's where the practice comes in, of letting yourself go but not blowing your voice out is a hard thing. I've done it for a long time. Like when I started like doing this kind of vocals when I was in high school, like just doing Korn and Soulfly covers and stuff like that with a little local band. And never knew how to do anything properly. Like I just was like, just go for it. And it was only sort of recently that I had to, hang on. It's like I've got to unlearn a whole bunch of bad habits where I'm just pushing myself too hard and all that kind of stuff. So finding the balance, it can sometimes take a little bit to get into that right headspace to give like an authentic performance, I guess. But it is something I try and do. And it's a weird thing. I will sometimes purposely piss myself off, to get in the right headspace for it. Like if it's a song about, like there's a song Mouthful of Asphalt that's kind of about this really bad work situation I had and just getting told to shut up and put up kind of thing. And what I was watching this person, I work in disability, and watching this person get really, really abused over years and trying my best to help them and not having anywhere to go to. It was, so it was getting that kind of emotion into it. It took a little bit as well, like where I'd have to kind of stop and like really, okay, just think about like this, and like, you're kind of working yourself up and you're thinking about all those horrible things to try and get the emotion behind it properly, and just that rage and stuff. And I was like, remember how you felt like when you came in and saw that person in that state and stuff like that. So, trying to bring that in, and it can be taxing sometimes, but it's also very therapeutic too. Like, so there's been a few times when there's a song called Free Nothing, which is a pretty old song that's kind of about like childhood stuff. Like nothing too bad happened to me, but just things that kind of mess with your head a little bit, and like the feeling of my place within my family and stuff like that. And that was actually really tough. That was sort of some tears were shed and stuff like that. It was kind of weird. I've even got a couple songs at the moment that I'm kind of scared to touch. Like I had my Nana die recently, and she had a good life. She made it to like 94, but after seeing her on her deathbed, I wrote a song, like, and it's quite a brutal, heavy song, and I haven't been able to go back to it yet because it feels kind of weird, like, and I'm not sure what to do with it. I've got lyrics for it and stuff all written out, but it's just like, that feels a bit too raw at the moment, which is probably, where I should push in and do it. But yeah, it's a bit sensitive still at the moment, I guess, like, so kind of waiting for that to dissipate. But maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should just try and do it.
Yeah, so yeah, model that emotion, then that might be.
Yeah. As I'm saying it now, I'm like, you know what? If someone was saying this to me, I'd be like, dude, you should probably try and work through it and put it in there. It's funny how when you say things out loud, you're like, hang on, maybe I should try and use that, and could help someone. Who knows? I don't know.
For sure, man. Sorry to hear about your grandmother, and really sorry to hear about your disability client being abused the way they were.
That was
terrible stuff to hear about.
Yeah, it fucked with my head quite a lot. I've got a few songs about that. Fade is another song about that, where I just kind of got locked into this weird loop of thought, and it was probably like at least 6 months, but it might have been longer. And I remember, like, I was walking along the river one day, and I was just so down about it, and like, what do I do? And and it just kind of like snapped into my thinking. I was like, remember when you used to just think about music and art and cool sci-fi stuff and like, you know, cool history, and you've been like on this role of this thought, like, you know, you're replaying these scenarios in your head for like who knows how long, you know, and it felt like I almost got slapped in the face and kind of like woke up, and it's like, oh my god, like, and in that song there's like lyrics like please never forget, like, and that's sort of like never forget to like try to be better kind of thing, and like never forget to remind yourself what life is really about and not sort of get lost in that, which it's like, I'm sure everyone is like that, you know, you have shit that happens to you and it just, that scenario will replay and replay and replay, and it's good to have those parts of your brain that recognize that and go, oh, hang on, dude, like, stop, like, you know, you're not doing the right thing here. And like, it took me, I think, about 6 months or so before I snapped out of it. So I was like, oh, wow, yeah, I used to be quite a different person, you know, like, and I'm not me anymore, you know, I'm not that happy person that I used to be. You know, it's just depressing and like, yeah. So after that, actually, I took about a year off from disability work. I'm back doing it now. Oh, excuse me. And it had been for about 2 years. But yeah, I had to take like a year of it, and I wasn't sure if I'd ever go back to it, to be honest. And I just left, and I reported them, and yeah, I was like, can't do anything more. So yeah.
Far out. It's deep stuff, man, and that stuff really does weigh heavily upon you and affect every waking moment. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was even like affecting my like relationship with my wife and stuff like that, and you know, she could, like, I'd come home and just be in my head kind of thing and stuff like that, and it was hard to. Yeah, it's a weird thing, because part of me was just like I wanted to fight more, but you just don't know where to go to, and you know. Being aggressive or anything wasn't going to help. Like, it would just shut people down. So having to be very tactful and diplomatic in how you attack the problem was, difficult. So, but yeah, through it now. So, yeah. Those sensitive matters require the resolve of a sensitive man. And
yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
my heart goes out to you, man. So good on you for.
Thanks, dude. Yeah. And that, you know what? And that's part of like going back to the instrumental stuff. It's like when you're doing that sort of stuff with lyrics all the time, it can get pretty taxing. And I want to talk about that stuff. You know, I've had people message me and say songs have helped them, and that really means the world. Like, but also the songs help me. You know, like, it's a reminder for me to. It's my own like personal kind of therapy in a way. Like, I always say, like, you know, fight depression with aggression and therapy through volume. It's like,
I love
it. But doing that all the time, it's intense, you know, like, so the instrumentals are a complete release from that, and it's just like fun and just like a complete change up, which I think I need, and I hope like listeners enjoy it too, where they can. Yeah, just kind of get back to fun things in life. And sorry, let's move that door again. Remembering that, a lot of shit is happening in the world, and it can be kind of bad, but there's also like a lot of cool shit out there, and humans are awesome and do really, really cool shit and have done for histories. And just because there's some dickhead politician in power, it's not going to change that. They're a little blip, you know. It's important to kind of remember that sometimes, and just like, look at the cool shit humans did. They made Warhammer. That's pretty cool. Like, they made Terminator. That's sick. Like, you know, guys like Dino exist, like with your Fear Factory stuff. You know, like,
yeah, man, totally. So that was going to be one of my next question. In fact, you and I met briefly at a Dino Cazares guitar clinic hosted by Ormsby Guitars. How has Dino influenced your musical identity?
Hugely, actually, massively. I wouldn't be doing vocals without Dino. Like, I got to really give him a shout out. So when the Fear Factory split happened, like, and they're looking for a new vocalist, I was like, you know what? I hadn't done vocals properly for a while, and I'd kind of written myself off as a vocalist, but I just had this little inkling of, you know what, fucking send him a video. You know, what's the worst that could happen? Sent him a video, and he got back to me and was like, okay, do this song. And I was like, oh shit, like, okay, so I did that song in an hour. I was like, I'll get back to you right away. Gave him this pretty raw take of, what was it, Resurrection, I think it was. Got back to me again, he's like, you know, do this one, and like, yeah, cool, do this. And he's like, look, man, not what I'm looking for, but you have a really cool voice, really good voice. Like, you should, you know, keep going. Like, and he was really cool about it. And I was like, obviously a bit bummed, because I was like, I would have been awesome to be in Fear Factory. Like, that would have just blown my mind. But at the same time, like, I'm happy because I get to do my own thing. But yeah, it was a real... I was just like, well, if it's fucking good enough for Dino, like, fuck it, like, I'm doing this. Like, I'm putting vocals on this stuff, you know, like, so yeah, if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be doing the vocals. And obviously then, like, a lot of the guitar work, like his riffs and stuff, that syncopation with the kick, that, like, I often, like, probably in every song or every other song in my head, there's like, I think it needs like a Fear Factory bit now, or like, oh, that's kind of a Fear Factory bit now, and even to the point where, like, oh, I think that is a Fear Factory bit. Delete, like, you know, I don't go back through like obsolete and like, oh my god, I ripped him off. Fuck, sorry, mate. Like, it's just subconsciously embedded in there. And even when I was a kid, actually, like, I learnt a lot of my vocals from singing along to Fear Factory. I used to put on Obsolete. That was the one that I really got into, and I'd just sing the whole album, you know. So yeah, Fear Factory. Like, like being able to meet Dino, awesome guy, you know, I even sent him some music and he got back to me and was like, oh, this song's really good, and like that kind of stuff was awesome, and that he would even take the time of day to talk to someone like me and not only talk but kind of encourage and stuff like that. I think, yeah, guy's a fucking legend. Like,
absolutely, man.
You know, I've had small interactions with the guy, but he genuinely seems like a really good person, you know, so yeah, it was cool. And yeah, I probably wouldn't be doing vocals if he hadn't said that my vocals sounded good. So,
well,
yeah, no. So that's I hope one day I'm in a position where, like, we're on tour or something like that, and I go, I'm not sure if you remember this, but you know, the part of the reason I'm here is because of like the encouragement that you gave me. So
you're telling me that Fuck Perfect wouldn't have any vocals on it if it weren't for Dino's encouragement? Yeah.
Wow. They might have had, like, before that I was doing kind of like sparse vocals. There'd be like a scream here and there that was like extremely reverbed up and like covered in like effects and stuff. And I never really liked my vocals too much. So it was sort of, yeah, I just didn't think I had it in me. I think, like, with a lot of, like, if I'm honest, like a lot of my music has been held back by my own fear of me being shit, you know, like, and it took a little bit of a realization. I had some things happen, and like I got a skin cancer, and it kind of like slapped me around and made me reevaluate life and like what I want to do and stuff. You can kind of see one scar there. Actually, that's from a skin cancer, and I got a good one on my chest. All good now. It's all good. And it's actually, I'm glad it happened because it kind of snapped me back into music. But it made me realize that, you know, I was a sound engineer for about, I think it was like 15 or 20 years. It was a long time I was doing sound engineering. And it made me, I was like, shit, I became a sound engineer because I thought I wouldn't be good enough to be a musician. And I wanted to be around music. Like my whole career was me not being good enough. Like, and that's why I did it, you know. And it was like, oh, fuck, like maybe I should look at that. And I think fear has driven a lot of those kind of decisions in my life without realizing it was like fear of not being good enough. Like, oh, I would never be able to do that. You know, even like playing music itself, I didn't play guitar until I was like 23 or 25 or something like that. You know, it was, I could never do that. You know, it was it's a strange thing, you know, and like, I wish I could kind of slap myself, hold me, like, just do it, man. Just like, you know, like, just give it a shot. What's the worst that's going to happen? You suck. Doesn't matter. Just get out there and suck. It's okay. Yeah. You know, so that fear, I do try and fight it now and actively sort of look for it and make sure I'm not making any decisions from that sort of place of thinking I'm not going to be able to do it, you know, so.
Fuck you, imposter syndrome.
Yeah, basically, yeah, that's like been a huge chunk of my life. You know, I'm so glad I did sound engineering. Like, I had a lot of cool experiences doing that, but it was based on a thing thinking, oh, well, I'd never be good enough to be on stage, so I'll just be the guy behind the stage. You know?
Wow. Yeah. Well, you're killing it, man.
And I've heard that lots of the new stuff is going to have 8-string guitar as well, so I'm interested to.
Yeah. In E. Fucking E, man.
So crazy. I play in drop F, and like I wrote one song in drop E like about a week ago, and I was like, oh, maybe this is a bit much.
It was like spaghetti strings.
Yeah, it was like spaghetti string, and just like I was like, there's no point playing notes anymore. Just like, you know, just like it becomes like a drum at that point. Like, and that's not a bad thing. It's fucking cool as fuck sometimes, but Yeah, like Meshuggah, like how they get like intricate riffs out of drop E. And I'm like, how?
Von Spriggan sounds like a mythic figure. What does the name mean to you, mate?
Okay, so it was actually my gamer tag when I started streaming on Twitch. That's where it started. But the Von part of it comes from my old last name. So my great-great-grandfather, he was an artist in Nazi Germany, and he escaped Nazi Germany into Australia and dropped the Von prefix off my name. My last name's Orthman. It used to be Von Orthman, so he dropped that to try and assimilate better into Australia, apparently the story goes. And it was something, I have a difficult relationship with my family, but there's some of my family that I'm really proud of, and he's one of them. I'm proud to come from that someone who, ran away from that. So I was like, I'm going to bring the Von back just for a bit of pride within myself that, not all the family stuff is bad. Like, I have a really good relationship with my family now. Like, we all grow up and stuff like that. And then the Spriggan is just a fun thing. It comes from an anime that I really like. So it was like, and I guess that's how I release music as well. It's like, there's the serious vocal stuff and then there's the fun instrumental stuff. And Von Spriggan's kind of that. It's like the serious thing that comes from my family and my past and from a pretty horrible time in history. And then there's the Spriggan, which is just a 90s anime that's just fun. And I chose that because I was also playing a game at the time called Titanfall and streaming that on Twitch. And in Titanfall, you're quite like a fast, agile person, and it's kind of like a Spriggan. And so when I created that too, I was like, I can create like a character almost. Not that I am a character when I'm Von Spriggan. It's not like this sort of persona I put on, but it's more something I aspire to be, almost like my Tyler Durden. It's like I'd want Von Spriggan to be all the best parts of me, and I fail all the time, obviously. But like if I'm in my head, I'm like, no, that's like if something happens, I don't even know how to explain it. Like where I don't feel like morally it's correct or something like that, or it's like no, there's no like Von Spriggan stuff doesn't compromise on that. Like it's in like it's always got to be solid and it's always got to be good and the best parts of you. It's the best of you that you can give. So that's, it's kind of not a character, it's more like a thing to live up to, I guess, or to aspire to. So.
Das ist sehr toll.
No.
Mein Deutsch ist nicht sehr gut, aber es wird besser.
Sounds good. I wish I was smart enough to learn another language. I've tried a couple times, man. I'm so dumb. Like when it comes to that stuff, like I'm going to Italy soon. I've been trying to learn Italian, and like it's just not clicking. It's not working. the brain is no input not accepted.
Italian is much like German and much like Spanish in that they have genders for objects.
Yeah,
which is super bizarre because we just say it's a table, whereas Spanish, Italian, it's the table is a female. It's like what?
It's kind of weird, that isn't it? Yeah. It's an interesting thing, language. Like it is how we kind of experience reality and stuff like that. So I feel like I am missing out. Like for instance, in Tibetan, there's like 20 different words or something for the word heaven that all sort of describe something different. So when you sort of think about that in the English language, it's like when we go to describe something that's spiritual or kind of abstract, I feel like we're kind of restricted. And then you might go to another language, and having those extra that extra vocabulary probably helps you kind of experience reality in a different way, like where you can describe it properly. Because many times, like even when I'm trying to describe the feeling of the instrumental music, it's like, it's just like the good feeling of sci-fi, there's no real word for it, so it's interesting how reality can be dictated by language, but yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Good to know that we both come from German stock. That's interesting.
Yeah, cool, yeah.
I only started learning it because my great-grandfather was German, and this was well before World War II, but he actually anglicized his name, so we don't know shit about him.
Yeah.
Because his entire history in Germany is like non-existent because he changed his name. And
it sucks, doesn't it? Yeah, that you can't find out. And because a lot of that stuff, I was talking to my dad about it, and he was saying like we had like family in certain wars and stuff, and like we were like at one point like we had like Dukes or something or whatever it is. We weren't like high royalty, but we're part of the upper class. And then apparently our family got their ass kicked in some war, and we lost everything. And like, you're like, oh, okay. It's like I've tried to like find the history of that, but it's really hard. And like, yeah, it's sort of like, I wonder what happened. Yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah, that whole family history stuff. It's certainly something worth going through. But bring you back to your style. You blur the lines between metal and electronic. Where do you see that evolution heading?
I would like to see it keep heading in like I feel like there's a lot of bands that are kind of doing it really well now, and it's becoming a more accepted thing, like synths and stuff in metal. Like you got bands like the Browning and stuff that are kind of paving the way for that. But I also feel like it was already there in its DNA from bands like White Zombie and like Slipknot with all the sample use and stuff, like Fear Factory, obviously, you know, Ministry, the list goes on and on. Like I think there's a bit too much separation sometimes in metal, like, and I think so many things are kind of like have a metal vibe. Like even some Massive Attack songs to me are kind of like have a metal vibe. Like some of my favorite guitar riffs that I think are like heavy as fuck are from Massive Attack, you know, but that is heavy in a different way. So I'd like to see that line blurred a bit more, like where it's okay to play a synth. Like I've been at live shows and no one's ever said anything, but where I got picked up on a certain vibe of like, that's not real metal, and I honestly couldn't give a fuck. I just don't care. I'm making music, man. I don't really fucking care about your label. Yeah, exactly. But I'd like to see a bit more open-mindedness. It's like there's lots of cool shit that, like, you know, that happens in electronic music, and it's a shame that it gets so separated. But I think like dubstep, probably, like, it's kind of a bad word, dubstep, but I think that kind of helped like bring that line in a bit, like where it started getting quite heavy, you know, like when I listened to dubstep the first time, I was like, well, this is just metal breakdowns. And I remember it was when I was doing my degree, you know, like these young kids that made sick dubstep, and I was like, oh, I got to learn from these guys because they have the best production skills. And like, this is just a metal breakdown. They're like, what? And I'm like, I showed them like, you know, a breakdown, and like, oh, yeah, it kind of is. Hey, I'm like, yeah, that's just like, to me it is like, so it's just like you put some of those sounds in there and it works, you know, like. But I feel like as well, it gives it, for me, it just, it gives it like a little element above metal. It gives like a little otherworldly kind of feel, like a little bit more of a sonic landscape to get lost in. It provides, like Fear Factory, a perfect example of where there'll be this brutal, like, you know, this riff underneath, and then you've got this ethereal kind of pad. But yeah, you've got that ethereal kind of pad over the top of it that will kind of make it almost, yeah, like cinematic and otherworldly. And but to me, it sounds like it has more depth and stuff like that. So I kind of, yeah, for me, it's just another tool. You know, I never really think about it like, you know, like electronic music and metal together. It's just kind of like metal.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's just kind of like this style of metal. Like I think that they, you know, industrial or whatever you want to call it, but. Yeah, to me, it's just like, well, this is just the shit that I like, you know, like Nine Inch Nails and stuff like that, and just infused in with riffs. You know, like I wish Soulfly had more synths in it. Like, get those guys on like DJ Dude or something, a sample guy. I want to hear some weird synths with like some Max Cavalera riffs. I know that shit would go off. Like,
fuck yeah, man. So, tell us about your studio setup.
Yeah, so it's not much, to be honest. This is it. Sorry, I'm just gonna let my dog out. How you got in here, buddy? My little dog Khan. Houdini. So yeah, most of my setup now is just on my computer, like it's all plugins and stuff like that, which is kind of annoying because when I was younger, I actually went to the mines for like 2 years to save up to buy like heaps of microphones and amps and stuff like that. And over the years, I've just sold it off because I don't need it anymore. So all that work went into nothing. But yeah, a few guitars in the back there, a few keys, but most of it's just, yeah, like on my computer, like just using plugins. Like all my guitar sound is all through Neural DSP. Shout out Neural DSP, make awesome stuff. Then it's like a lot of my drums come from a thing called Damage, which is a contact instrument by Native Instruments. And it's like those two things are pretty much all I need, and then some synths.
Wow.
Yeah, and so there's not like, over the years I have like kind of refined it a little bit, like where I just use a few tools most of the time. Like I use a synth called Oblivion, another one called Massive, another one called FM8. Yeah, so you kind of learn those tools, I guess, and make everything from that. And I find that it's a bit easier. I did buy like lots of stuff, and you kind of get lost in it a bit, where you just sort of like, I don't even know what this does. Like you just sort of press a button, like, oh, no, oh, that bit's cool. Like, cool. All right, I'll just go press that button for the cool noise. Like, you have no idea why, but you know. So yeah, the studio like doesn't look as cool as it used to, because it used to have like all this equipment everywhere, but yeah, now it's like, yeah, on the computer, and that's pretty much it. And then I've just got a SM7B, just the classic vocal mic, and I just record it in that corner there, in that little room. And that's why all the soundproofing stuff's there, so I can just, do it all in here, and all the mixing, all the mastering and everything. And yeah, so it's a pretty simple setup. It costs a little bit to set up, but now a lot of it's, like, I like trying to keep it cheap, like, not because I will quite happily save forever. You know, I went to the mines for 2 years to buy equipment. So, but I find that you can get a lot of really, really good stuff for pretty cheap these days, and it's awesome. And I feel like it's accessible. Like, and I'll get people message me all the time, like, how did you get this sound? And I'll quite happily list everything. Like, here is exactly all the plugins. Here's how to get a free version of that. Here's, how to get that for as cheap as you can, because I think it should be accessible for everyone. Everyone should be able to like make music if they want, and there shouldn't be a barrier of money. And we live in the best time ever to make music, where you can have an entire orchestra on your computer and you can have everything at your fingertips, often for free. And so there's no fucking excuse. Like, get off your ass, get out there and suck, make some shitty music, and then hopefully eventually you won't make shitty music. But yeah, because I've had a few people that are like, I want to do it. It's like, just start. It's fun. Like, I made music for so many years before I actually released it as Von Spriggan, just for myself. And then, like, I never thought about releasing it or anything like that. It's just fun, it's just fun to make stuff. So yeah, don't even release it. Just make music. It's fun. The reason humans have done it for millions and millions and millions of years. So,
yep. Yeah. President Watson from IBM, he said, if you want to increase your if you want to increase your success rate, you double your failure rate.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's just like that's
Michael
so true.
Jordan. Michael Jordan said, I failed over and over and over in my career, and that's why I succeed. He missed 9,000 shots. He was relied on to take the winning shot in a game something like 26 times and missed. And you can't be a 6-time MVP without a failure in your record, right?
Yeah, and that's like, it is the classic thing. You just got to be willing to go through it and just not be afraid to just sort of like this, not be afraid to suck. It's okay. Like, I write constantly, and most of the stuff I write doesn't get released. Like, I've got 3 SoundClouds full of songs. It's probably like a good 100+ demos that aren't good enough, so it takes a lot, sometimes, like, and you do, like, you just keep throwing stuff at the wall and trying and learning and hopefully you hit one. That's good.
Dude, you have an incredible cadence for album releases. Like, how soon is the new one coming? Like, what new worlds and themes will that explore?
Yeah, so the new one's only 20 days away, or less than that, actually, 18 days away. So yeah, the 27th of the 5th that comes out. And that one is really, it's called Music to Kill Aliens 2. So it's a follow-up from Music to Kill Bosses 2. So it is, but this one is more, a bit more cinematic. It has like a little bit more, like actual like vocal work in terms of me doing like Space Marine stuff, and like, kill them all, like, we're Space Marines, we don't back down, this kind of stuff, like big speeches of like, they've come this far, even like it's actually mixed a bit of Star Trek stuff in there too, like Klingon speeches and Warhammer speeches go really, really well together if you ever try. So yeah, it's all about, this one is kind of like the songs like The Last March of Humanity and Humanity Prevails, and it's kind of an idea of humanity coming together under one banner to fight aliens, and putting our best warriors forward. And sometimes that might be Master Chief from Halo, or sometimes that might be just like Joe Schmo in the army, depending on what it is. And then there's a couple of other, there's actually 2 fully electronic songs in this one for the first time. I felt it needed a little bit of breakup, and one of them is called Night Ride in Neo Tokyo. So it's just made completely as a homage to Akira, and the film clips all the Akira footage and stuff like that. And it's pretty chill. And then there's another one called Hive City Rave, and I try to imagine like you know that scene in The Matrix where they go down and everyone's like dancing and stuff. Like it's kind of like that, but like a Warhammer version. And and I actually used a Klingon quote for that. Is like sort of this guy's like revving up the crowd at the start as this like beat starts, and he's sort of saying like, you know, we live in such a fucked up, filthy existence that like every day that we survive is a victory, and tonight we fucking celebrate and we party hard because tomorrow we might die. And that like that's a Klingon thing too. So every night, like when in battles, Klingons will get fucked up. Even with their enemies and stuff. And it's a thing like there was a bit where Worf is like with his brother and he's like, that's the enemy, like why aren't we fucking them up? And he's like, well, no, tonight we're not enemies, tonight we're in the battle of our lives and tomorrow we might die, so fucking let's party tonight, you know. So there's some stuff like that in there too. Yeah, there's one called Cybernetic Valkyrie that's imagining like it's like kind of like Armored Core, like you know, cybernetic mech warriors coming down and taking your consciousness and stuff like that. So it's all like and that's just like everyone will get different interpretations because it's like just instrumental stuff. But yeah, the whole thing is like humanity fighting back and humanity fighting aliens, and it is all very, very silly and fun, but at the same time, like there's a kind of undertone of like at the moment the world is getting pretty divided and heading into a pretty scary place, and like I almost wish there was like an alien invasion or something to remind us all that we're all humans, and like a lot of these differences are quite petty. Yeah, exactly. Maybe we don't need to kill each other over imaginary beings in the sky, or like, you know, even if you are religious, like God doesn't really, like if your God does exist, he probably doesn't want you to kill other people because they don't think the same. Like, so whatever way you are, atheist or religious, like, you know, so there is that part of it too, where it's kind of like, yeah, I wish humanity could come together and like realize the best parts of them. And yeah, because we do some cool shit, humans. It's hard to, you sort of forget that sometimes, like, you know, but humans have done some amazing cool stuff, and yeah. So I guess that is like, yeah, a celebration of humanity almost. As we kill aliens together.
Come on, man.
Like mowing down aliens with a Gatling gun and then high-fiving your bro.
The 27th of May, you say. Looking forward to it, dude.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of film. Like every song has a film clip, like an edit. Like you can see the edits in your background. Spend a lot of time putting them all together. So hopefully people can watch it like a big journey if they want as well, and just sort of see a bunch of cool shit. And because that's what I like to do at night. You know, I've watched through it a few times now, where I'm like, I think it's pretty cool. I like it. I'm having fun. So yeah, hopefully other people do too. So
awesome. All right, some crazy questions coming up.
Sounds good.
We'll move through them as quickly as we can. So if Von Spriggan were a boss in a video game, what would its final form look like?
What would its final form look like? God, what would it? It'll just have to be a, you know, I don't know why. I'm just thinking like a big giant pair of brass balls. I don't know why that would be the fight, but I think I'll just be like a giant guitar or something, like just sort of like that didn't really make any sense, but it was like kind of worked. But I also am thinking of there's a Dark Souls boss in the first video game called Ormsby and Smaug. It's two bosses, and I reckon I'd be Ormsby. He's a big kind of fat, almost. Yeah, no, he was Smaug. I've got it wrong. It's been years anyway, but he was a big fat Buddha dude that was like huge golden guy, maybe like something like that.
If your album after Songs to Kill Aliens 2 had to be made using only retro gaming hardware, how would you pull it off?
I'd call my friend Hal. So I did my degree with a guy called Hal Binderman, who's still a good friend of mine. I've got him to do some voice work for me. But he is actually like a little bit of a genius when it comes to like old retro gaming soundtracks and stuff. And he does like a lot of 8-bit things. And yeah, he's really good. Hal Binderman, he's a legend. So I'd call him up and go, "How do you do this, dude?" And like he's so good. I remember like when we were doing our degree together, he was doing a Soundgarden cover of this 8-bit thing, and I was like, like, to be honest, man, I'm not sure if this will work without the vocal. Like, I think you kind of need it to. And he's like, "No, I think it'll work." And I remember like hearing it, and I was like, I was fucking wrong. I'm so wrong. And I like put my hand up in class. I was like, I said that this wouldn't work, and he was right. I was wrong. Like, this is really, really cool. He's like, "I told you." I was like, "I'm sorry, man." Like, yeah, I learned something new today. He did it really well. So yeah, I'll hit him up.
Awesome. All right. So, what's the most unexpectedly emotional moment you've had while producing a track?
I'd probably say Fade. Yeah, that was like the lyrics for Fade. Like I said, I do like a stream of consciousness thing a lot of times with my lyrics, but then they get heavily edited because who writes, like, who thinks this in perfect lyric form. Fade, however, was I was walking along this river like near my house, and snapped out of that kind of loop of depression and stuff, and like had my phone and like quickly just wrote it all out, and pretty much I think like 99% of those lyrics is just like it just wrote out perfectly and just fit perfectly in that song. And that was kind of a little bit of a, I don't know, it was just like, wow, that fucking worked. And singing through that was pretty tough at times, but it's therapeutic. But yeah, it was sad it made me feel quite sad that I'd let myself go so far without realizing how far I'd gone into like depression and anger and anxiety. Like I was like, God, I can't believe I didn't realize this sooner, that I didn't have that sort of revelation sooner. So that was good, but also kind of tough and a little bit sad. But also like it's a weird sort of combination. It's like that's not going to happen again. I will remember to be the best version of myself. I will remember to fight. I'm going to get depressed. I'm going to have anxiety like everybody, but I will remember that like that is not me, and that's a part of me, and I'm going to, always remember to try and be better and stuff like that. So yeah, that was definitely one of those. Yeah. That is
inevitable.
Yeah, exactly.
Pain is inevitable. It's pushing through the other side that counts, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So which track would you send into space to represent your sound to alien life? Very fitting with the current album.
Yeah, fucking bring it. Humanity prevails. Like, no, I wouldn't really. It honestly depended. Like, yeah, if they were like evil, it'd probably be like, the last march of humankind or humanity prevails. There's another one coming out that's called Resist. That's got like a big long speech at the start of it. That's a mix of a Space Marine speech and a Jean-Luc Picard speech, and then my own stuff. But if they were like kind of like cool aliens, I'd probably send them a song called Eretar, which is a mix of like it's quite tribal. I was watching. Well, I always watch lots of history stuff, and that one was based around a Stoic concept of like Eretar. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, by the way, but I don't know. I just read it. And that's about being the best version of yourself and doing everything that you do with like excellence and honor. And if it's worth doing, it's worth doing properly. And it was an affirmation of that for me. Like, I'm going to be this best version of myself. And then the lyrics come from an old war prayer from the Gauls, I think, or like the old Germanic tribes, and they'd fight Rome, and it's like mother of blood, like burn my hesitation, like, Lord of the mountain, like give me strength, all this sort of. And I just sort of added my own things into it, but I heard that war prayer, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, and that's like sort of like I'm sort of saying to like the world, like, be my witness. Like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be the best version of me. And it was a weird song, that one too. Actually, I learnt how to do vocals differently doing that song. Like, there's a moment in it where it's actually just like complete gibberish. Like, I'll be honest. Like I do like scat sort of stuff. Like, so when I'm getting my vocal patterns, I say like that kind of thing. And I'd been doing that for a while, and all of a sudden I just like hit this other part of my voice that I hadn't hit before, and this vocal pattern kind of came out, and I could never match it, and the ferocity of it and the intensity of like that moment was just pure. Like it sounds so cheesy, but it really like it was just like a moment that was captured, and I tried to recreate it and put lyrics to it, and I just could never beat it. And even with my wife, I was like, do I put this in there? Like, it's not anything. It's just, it's kind of like, I guess, like Jonathan Davis when he does Twist, you know, it's like, it's not really, it's just kind of like, they're like, what the, you know? Then she's like, well, it sounds fucking sick. And I'm like, well, it did have like a lot of feeling behind it, but I get like, I didn't really have the words to express it, but it was just like, fucking bring it on kind of feeling. So that was a kind of a special one, like in terms of being able to capture that moment. Like it's hard to do that by yourself sometimes. Like you got to sit there and like, okay, that's where I'm at the track and record, and then you jump over to the mic and stuff. But so it's hard to like get lost in it. But yeah, that was one of those moments where it really happened, and yeah, I'm quite proud of that one. Yeah,
awesome, man. All right, we'll do a quick rapid fire round to finish off this interview.
Sounds good.
Riffs first or beat first?
For me, beat most of the time. Riffs will definitely pop into my head, but it'll be, I normally start with like, okay, I want my head to do this. I want my head to do this, or what, you know, what the beat, and then after that, we'll start trying to think of the riff. Sometimes it's just jamming, where the riff will come. I've been trying a new thing lately because of Hans Zimmer, where he said he won't touch his piano until he has an idea, so he sits on his hands so that he won't just go back to the same muscle memory. So I've been trying that a little bit lately, where I create a beat and then I sort of think of the riff and kind of scat out the riff and then try it from there. But it's all, you know, every song's kind of different as well. But I'd say 90% of the time beat first. Simple beat, then riff, then beat gets refined, then riff gets refined, then beat gets refined, and then riff gets and it goes back and forth, and then synths get added onto that, and yeah.
Sick, man.
Yeah.
Headphones or studio monitors?
So this is a funny one. I don't use studio, but I use a shitty old Sony stereo that my mum gave me as my studio monitors. Yep. I like them. I know the sound of them. For anyone out there that is doing sound, if you know the sound of your speakers well, and you know what music should sound on them, that should be enough to get you through. So I don't feel like you need to spend thousands of dollars on studio speakers. That being said, these headphones here are like top of the range. So they're mixing and mastering headphones that are really expensive. So I mostly make my music using these shitty speakers, this Sony stereo, and then when it comes to mixing and mastering, I use these headphones, and then I use some Audio-Technica headphones, and then I use my car stereo, and then I use a stereo out in the kitchen, and then I use my phone speaker. So for me, it's studio monitors are kind of pointless because I'm going to be listening to it on so many different devices anyway. Because yeah, like that's what people are going to be listening to it on. So I go through all of these like different speakers that I know quite well, and I know how music should sound on them, and then take notes from there and go back. So yeah, so I guess headphones or just speakers you know well. You know, like you don't, like people get caught up in this a lot, and it's like, no, you don't need to. If you know the speakers well, like you'll get through it, like you'll be able to do it. So yeah.
Awesome. Vocals or VSTs?
Vocals.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Doom or Cyberpunk 2077?
Oh, that's hard. Cyberpunk 2077 if I want to chill. Doom if I'm feeling like I want to challenge myself. Yep.
Analog grit or digital precision?
Analog grit.
Best late night snack during a long production session?
Coffee. Just coffee. I'm terrible for not eating. Like I forget. Like my wife is, thank God for her, because she'll come in like, have you eaten yet today? And I'm like, no, I haven't. And I used to do it. So before her, I'd put in long days and not eat and end it and be like, oh God, I feel so terrible. But yeah, so like, yeah, coffee.
Biggest production sin you secretly love?
Ooh, not editing my guitars, not editing my vocals. So a lot of people in metal will edit their guitars heavily onto the grid, and I I think I've done it once in the time for a certain effect. I'll just play it over and over again until I get it right. And if my tracks are slightly off, it can sometimes work. So all the guitar is very authentic, and same with the vocals. I will work to get the right vocal take. Because all of my synths and my drums are pretty heavily on the grid and digitized, I feel like it's important to kind of have that a bit raw. But yeah, when I tell people that or show people that, they sometimes be like, you haven't edited the guitars and you haven't done, or like, it's just like a sort of, well, that's just what you do. And you also use auto-tune on vocals. And it's like, I really don't like the sound of auto-tune. So, I've even told people that I've used auto-tune on their vocals, and I haven't. Because it sounds better. It's like, see, it's just in your fucking head. You sounded good the whole time. Have some trust in yourself. You've got an amazing voice. So,
exactly, right.
Yeah.
So one plugin you couldn't live without.
Ooh, can I say two?
Go.
Damage. The Damage drums from Native Instruments. That's like 90% of my drum sound comes from that played with analog hits. And then Neural DSP, the Petrucci plugin, that's used for all my guitars. So yeah, those two are pretty essential. Yeah. I'd be sad without them.
Worst ever gear fail on a recording day?
Oh. You know what? I've had my just full interface to shit itself. So my the sound card itself just gone, and that was in the middle of recording vocals. And it's like when you I really don't like warming up my vocals. It's so boring. It's the most boring thing in music for me, is warming up my vocals. So if I take the time to do it and then I can't record vocals, and it's like, God damn it! I did all that for nothing. All those noises and all that dumb shit. Well,
it wouldn't be an episode of the AndoVocals podcast if you didn't tell us about your vocal warm-ups and preparation. What do you do, mate?
Yeah, so it actually changed with Airtar. So I used to just go through this thing called Power Vocals on YouTube Music and Spotify. Just type in Power Vocals, and there's like 9 exercises, and it's just like, all that kind of stuff, like ma ma me me. But now I've started doing whisper screams to start, and that started with Airtar, where I'll so I was just doing that, and I'll sing through. I've got a playlist called Warm Ups, and it starts with The Sound of Silence by Disturbed, and kind of soft songs, Kill the Sun by Cane Hill, and a few other things like that. A few Chris Isaak songs on there too, and it'll be me whispering through that. And I've never heard anyone else do this, but I'll be like, it was the sound of silence. And then it slowly, you feel it after maybe 15 minutes or so, it kind of fills, and you can even I can't do it quite now because it's not there, but it sort of pops out and it just expands. And I find when I do that, I don't get any sort of strain, and I can hit clean singing as well, perfectly. And yeah, so I've been experimenting with that a little bit lately. So yeah, just sort of this whisper, just starting off la la la, and going from there. It's a weird thing, and just being relaxed, trying to relax my shoulders and all that kind of stuff. It used to be so tense, you'd be like, and it's just, yeah. I went to a throat specialist actually because I thought I'd done some damage. I was in so much pain, and I was like, I think I fucked this up. I've done some vocal polyps, and I got the camera down the throat and stuff like that. But I was all good, thankfully. It's just you've just really strained yourself. You just got to calm down a little bit. Okay, cool. Yeah.
It's just laryngeal edema or laryngeal swelling, right?
Yeah. It was this muscle just along there. That kind of, yeah.
So you actually strained a muscle?
Yeah, because I was like, it kind of hurts here. And he's like, well, that's exactly where this muscle is. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks. And
jeez.
Yeah, and that was
right. Straining neck muscles, straining abdominal muscles. What else have you strained that?
I'd like to, so I come from watching Slipknot. So I'm like, if you don't fucking go, go. Leave it all on the stage kind of thing. And as I'm getting older now, it's my body has built up a bit more of a resilience to some things. Headbanging is fine. I can do it all day and not get a sore neck, but other things are kind of oh, hang on, I'm not quite ready for this yet. Just give us a moment. Don't jump straight into it. But yeah, I can still remember the very first time I saw Slipknot, and I was given a VHS tape by this CD shop, and I remember, like, I think it was Sick, and they all, like, it starts off and they just, like, jump on each other and beat the fuck out of each other, and just, like, this little kid, like, that's the coolest thing, like, in the world. Like, I want people to beat the fuck out of me on stage. Like, I want to be in a band where we just fuck each other up, and, like, I was always that guy in the pit, just like, let's go. It's nothing. And, like, the next day, you're like, oh my god, what have I done? Like, but so I still try and have that a little bit of that. You know, it's gotta, if you're going to play, fucking get into it. You know,
for sure.
So, yeah.
So, best metal front person of all time.
Oh, of all time. I mean, of all time, you'd probably have to say Ozzy, because, you know, he was one of the first, and he's been such a character for so long, and, you know, amazing voice and stuff like that. For people that I really enjoyed, would probably be Chad Gray from Mudvayne. Like, I've seen them a few times, and I've seen Hell Yeah a few times as well, and he's always been on point, so amazing. His voice is just so good, and he seems like a cool guy too. I remember once when I first saw Mudvayne, I was crowd surfing, got thrown over the fence, and saw a gap in the security, and, like, ran to the stage, and he saw me, came straight down, and, like, he's like singing still, like, gives me like a, you know, like, bro shake kind of thing, and I, like, you know, I was probably like 16 or something, and I just like turn around and, like, holding his hand, and the security are running at me, like, oh god, and it's like, remember, like, running and just, like, jumping back into the crowd, like, and yeah, like, crowd surfing out of it, and just, I don't know, I'll never forget that, you know. And then yeah, just seeing him after, like, every time, I just think he's great, you know, like, his voice is so on point, and yeah, he seems like a cool guy. And I have to say as well, Corey Taylor, like, I've seen Slipknot a fair few times, and he knows how to work a crowd, like, he knows how to, you know, when they have those moments where it stops and the band kind of leaves the stage, and he's, like, talking to everybody, and he can command 30,000 people just with his voice, like, talking to people. And, you know, I got to see them when they had their full original lineup with Paul and Joey still, and yeah, those were pretty special concerts, you know. And even just the way he is, like, I remember, like, what happens if they fall down? And it's like, you pick them up, you know, those kind of stuff, like, you know, it's just fucking sick, you know, like. Yeah. A lot of good time, a lot of good memories in Slipknot mosh pits. Like, yeah.
Me too, man. Me too.
Yeah, yeah.
First band shirt you ever owned?
First band shirt ever was a Pennywise t-shirt, actually. So I used to be really into punk music back in the day. Like, and I remember it was so cool. Like, mum was Christian, so she's kind of against, like, punk music and stuff, like, but then she kind of came around, as you do. She's like worried her son's going to the devil, then realized it wasn't that, you know. And yeah, she bought me this Pennywise t-shirt for my birthday once, and I was like, holy shit, like, you know, had this, yeah, the Pennywise flame across it, and it was, yeah, that was cool. Yeah,
sweet, dude.
Yeah, still love Pennywise.
Yeah. Do you still listen to that punky stuff?
Yeah, not like I used to, but I still chuck on NoFX and Pennywise every now and then. Another band called 30 Foot Fall. Those three I always kind of go through. 30 Foot Fall, like, no one's ever heard of them. I think they're one of the greatest punk bands ever. Like, yeah, they're really cool. If you like NoFX and Penny, like, they're probably more in lines with NoFX than they are Pennywise. That kind of, like, funny punk, I guess. Like, got songs like urinary anxiety and relating that to, like, social problems and how he can't let go of, like, you know, just be happy, like, because he can't pee in front of people, like, you know, it's just silly stuff. Or, like, there's one called, like, fuck y'all, we're from Texas, like, you know, that kind of, like, but then there's, like, other ones that's called, like, entertainment versus art and stuff like that, where it's talking about, like, you know, someone took the time to write these lyrics and you should pay attention to it, and, like, you know, art can be more than just you trying to be cool, you know, that sort of stuff. Sure. Like, yeah.
Favorite game soundtrack of all time?
Or it'd have to be Doom Eternal. Just Mick Gordon is, like, obviously, like, a huge influence sonically. Other than that, I really like the Cyberpunk soundtrack as well. Like, that's really cool. That's got a lot of cool stuff on it. The Halo soundtrack is pretty amazing as well if you want that kind of, like, more mellow stuff. But yeah, as far as, like like stuff I put on pretty constantly. The Doom soundtrack, or Doom soundtracks, I should say. I don't think you can actually get Doom Eternal on Spotify and stuff, but the other ones on there, like, yeah, Mick Gordon is a bit of a hero of mine. Like, the way when I heard the Doom soundtrack, that was like, okay, that's the guitar tone. That's how heavy everything needs to be, and it made everything else seem so weak. Like the heaviest songs is like, this sounded so much heavier before, and like you back to back it with a Slipknot album, and you're like, oh god, that makes it sound tinny. Like, it's crazy, dude. It's so nuts. So that's where like my layering and stuff is like directly influenced from Mick Gordon, like the synths and stuff. So every guitar track has synths layered underneath it and all this different sounds layered in to get it the full way. So
yeah, I hadn't seen anyone do that until I watched a walkthrough video of Wind Waker.
Yeah,
their drummer Chris Lalich, he was explaining how he puts all these layers of synth and like vocal synth as part of the guitar. So he takes like the original track from the guitars and then applies all this synth to it. And you're like, holy freaking,
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I might have to
do something like that.
Yeah, I'll have to check that documentary out. Yeah, it's interesting, that kind of stuff. Like I even recently I started using a MIDI guitar track in there as well. So like once the riff is written, I write it all out in MIDI, and I was given that by this company called Keep Forest. Actually, they gave me a couple of synths, and I made a few videos for them, and they're really cool. And they reached out and was like, hey, we got this new guitar one coming out. Would you make a video for us? And I was just like, no, sorry, I don't use MIDI guitar. I was like, but I wasn't like a dick. I was just like, look, I don't think this one's for me, because I don't use MIDI guitar. I really like playing real guitar, so I'm not about to change that. And the guy was like, just try it, man. I think you'll like it. And I was like, all right, well, I'll give it a shot. And yeah, literally, like I just went into this metal section, clicked in the first one, and the tone was fucking sick. And I was like, okay, that sounds pretty sick. If I then put it as a subtle layer beneath like my real guitar, then a sub synth, a bass synth, that guitar, it sort of all gelled together quite nicely. I was like, oh, this could become a mainstay of my sound, actually. Like that, you can't really. It's one of those things you can't hear, but you hear when it's not there. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, it's fun, that kind of stuff. Yeah, and it was cool that it was nice.
Favorite movie soundtrack of all time?
Ooh, I listen to a lot of movie soundtracks, actually. So there's a couple. Danny the Dog. Have you ever, this is a really strange old movie. Okay, so it's called two things. It's called Unleashed in some countries, and it's called Danny the Dog in other countries. And it's an old Jet Li movie where he had a collar on, and they would take off the collar and he'd beat the fuck out of people. That's pretty much it. Like, it has Morgan Freeman in it. He plays piano at some point. I don't know why. Who cares? Jet Li beat the fuck out of some people. And he does it in a real animalistic kind of way. It's quite brutal. But Massive Attack actually did the soundtrack for it. And it's fucking sick. And I just came across it one day and I'm like, what? The Massive Attack did this? Like, it's such a random movie for them to be doing. And it's an awesome soundtrack. It's really, really cool. The Fight Club soundtrack by the Dust Brothers, brilliant. Really kind of cool. Then going into the more ambient territory, I've been listening to, probably for a few months now, the Interstellar soundtrack by Hans Zimmer, and the Blade Runner soundtrack, Blade Runner 2049 by Hans Zimmer and Benjamin something. I can't remember his name. I should. But yeah, those ones are really, all the Hans Zimmer stuff's really good, but Interstellar and Blade Runner especially are really, really good. And I just found another one recently called Upgrade. Upgrade was an old sci-fi movie where a guy, well, not old, it's probably a couple of years old now, and he gets a chip in his brain where this computer can kind of take over his body and be awesome. And so there's this one bit where he's kind of getting beaten the fuck out of it, and the chip's like, can I take over now? And he's like, all right, do it. And all of a sudden he's just and he's awesome at kung fu. And that has that's got a really good soundtrack to it as well. It's kind of ambient at times, but then kind of gets into the weird sort of pulsy industrial kind of blips and bloops. So yeah, I listen to lots of soundtracks actually. I kind of love them. So yeah, that's too many, but but yeah, if any, look up Danny the Dog OST and look up Upgrade. They're both really cool soundtracks. So yeah.
Thanks, Garth. So before we call it a night, was there anything you wanted to promote before we wrap this one?
No, I mean, yeah, just check out the stuff on Spotify, and I don't really like there's merch and stuff, but just stream the songs for free on streaming services, and or watch the stuff for free on YouTube. That's how I people are like want to buy physical copies and all that kind of stuff, and like that's really cool. Like I personally can't do that yet, so don't feel bad for streaming my music. Please just stream it. It helps me out a ton. Like don't feel bad about streaming it on Spotify or anything like that, because I that's how I get paid at the moment. So don't feel bad. Stream it. Do it all for free. Don't worry.
Awesome. Garth of Von Spriggan, thank you so much for joining me on the AndoVocals podcast tonight. And we can't wait for Music to Kill Aliens 2 to drop on the 27th of May. It's going to be fucking sick, mate.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was a good chat, man. It was good to shoot the shit and have a bit of a talk. That's good. And yeah, hopefully you enjoy the album. I had a lot of fun making it. So a lot of hours have gone into that. It's consumed me for a long time now. So I'm happy for it to get out into the world. Cool. See you, everyone. Thanks for having me.
See you, legend. All the best, mate.
Catch you, mate. Bye.